Welcome to Michael Jackson Live Interesting Facts for Die Hard Fans, Part 3. On April the 20th, 2002, I think, Michael Jackson performed Dangerous at the 50th anniversary of American Bandstand, very famous show in the United States. Now, what some of you Michael Jackson fans may not know is that Michael Jackson performed the song twice. Yes, he wasn't happy with his first performance, so he performed the song twice. And I've got a lot more interesting stuff about that show. We will do a full analysis about that show, so we will come back to it in detail in future. Number 9. Michael Jackson, in the same show, the American Bandstand, where he performed Dangerous, had a couple of issues, and one of them was that the dancer with the gun shot out of position. He didn't shoot in the position. He was too far away with from Michael. So what happened was, it messed up the choreography a little bit because Michael couldn't throw the cigarette out of his mouth and then flip him because the guy was nowhere near him. So that didn't come out of his mouth. Smoking's very bad, by the way, so try and give up if you do smoke. Anyway, he flipped him, but he didn't do that part because the dancer was too far that way. So there you go, a little bit interesting stuff about that performance. Number 8. Now, this is not unprecedented for Michael Jackson because in 1996, Michael Jackson performed at the World Music Awards and he performed Earth Song. However, any of you guys that were there, you will know that Michael Jackson performed it twice. He wasn't happy with his performance and there was a wind machine failure. So you can actually see the edits actually. A couple of things. There was a wind machine failure, but also the audience weren't close enough to him and they weren't making enough noise. So they brought the audience forward nearer the stage and they got the wind machines fixed. So they performed it twice, and if you watch the broadcast, you can actually see it goes, in the verses it goes quiet and then it goes crazy because it is an edit of the two performances. And when Michael Jackson walks on the stage with Prince Albert, he actually says, "Thank you very much for letting me do the performance again." And the Prince says, "Don't worry about it. You have to watch very, very, very carefully." Or if you were there, you might have seen Michael say it, but very, very carefully. So it is not unprecedented for Michael Jackson to perform twice at a televised event. Number 7. Back to American Bandstand now. Now, Michael Jackson, he performed twice. Now, there's a couple of reasons why he performed twice, but you might have seen a picture of him without his shoe on, like just hobbling on without his shoe, and that's because his ankle was hurting, so he took off his shoe. And you might notice, by the way, he's not wearing his usual loafers. That really is nearly a first. It's not a first, but it's nearly a first with Michael Jackson. And secondly, one of the dancer's spikes fell off onto the stage, and it's still on the stage during the performance. However, I've also heard, I wasn't at the show, I've heard that the dancer threw it down. That's from one source. However, I think that's not the case. It fell off. So there you go. Number 6, Madison Square Garden. So for Michael Jackson sat in the audience for most of the 30th anniversary celebration. And you may notice that, and the camera shot him many, many times during other people's performances. And you may see that Michael is lit. He's lit like this. And you might think, well, he's sitting down in the audience. How is he lit? Well, he's done what Simon Cowell and the X Factor gang do now, which is just underneath the line of their seats and their heads, they have lights shining up. So just in front of Michael, they had lights facing up, and that's why he looks really well lit when they turn to him. And his family, his mother, his father, Elizabeth Taylor, they all had lights in front of them shining up. And secondly, you might think, well, if Michael Jackson's watching the show and he's sitting on the stage, he can't see the show. Well, they solved that one as well by having TV monitors right in front of him so he can see the stage from the left and he can see the performance from the front. Pretty good idea, actually. Number 5, Billie Jean Auckland History Tour. Okay, so I've actually spoke about this in my blog a few years ago, but I'm going to give it to you guys today. During Billie Jean, during the breakdown, when it's just the drums, you might notice at the end that the singers, Brad Buxer comes in with the chords, they come in with the chorus of Billie Jean. And this is very, very, very unusual. And the reason for that is this, that Michael Jackson was going on and on and on and on with his freestyle dancing. He was really into it. What happened was this, that the show was going to run over. So it's a very long show, especially the first leg of the tour. So they came in. And if you do go over, then you are fined. Now, this has actually happened to Michael Jackson in the Dangerous Tour at Wembley. Michael Jackson was fined many, many thousands of pounds for going over. The reason why he went over was because the toaster in the Dangerous Tour was the toaster, the contraption that Michael Jackson jumped out of at the beginning of the concert, didn't work, it failed, so they had to get it fixed. And obviously that was an essential part of the show. So Michael Jackson went over and that cost him, I can't remember, I'm thinking it was between 10 and 50,000 pounds. It was a lot of money. I think it was 50,000, but anyway, there you go. Now, back to Auckland. The band and the singers come in just quietly with the chorus to egg him on to get to the end of the song, which is very, very unusual. And you can see Michael, when he turns, you can see his face. So take a look. Auckland, History Tour, Billie Jean. Number 4. Now, this is one of those obscure ones, okay? So you've got to work with me if you're a Michael Jackson fan. If you don't know these shows, you're not going to know what I'm talking about, but you can check out the shows and you can become a diehard Michael Jackson fan. So, introduction, History Tour. Michael Jackson blasts out the stage in his spaceship, and then a voice comes over. Now, that voice is live, and it's one of the backing singers. Now, it goes like this. The car doors are now closed. The stage is ready for access. Okay, in a really deep voice. Now, firstly, it sounds like they say par, so I think that was they dropped the consonant as for just to make it ambiguous, but I think it's car. Anyway, it was actually done live, and it actually varied from show to show. I think that the backing singers, they either changed it or they made a mistake. They probably misspoke and they kind of changed it, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes it went like this. The car doors are now closed. The stage is ready for access. And then maybe the next night after that, the car doors are closed. The stage is ready for access. Now there's an alternate one. The car doors are now closed. The stage is free for access. But I'm sure that they probably had a script and they just varied it each time. It all means the same thing. But that is interesting if you are a diehard Michael Jackson fan. Number 3. Okay, I wasn't in Chile on the Dangerous Tour. However, something very interesting happened during Jam, and you can find this on the amateur footage. What happened was Michael, he touched his head like this, and then during Jam, he ran back to his security, whispered something in his ear. The security touches his head, earphone, and then something happens. Now, I'm going to offer you 2 explanations for this. My first reaction to this was, and I don't know if my first reaction was actually correct, but it was that somebody had, threw a coin or something. It was actually a reaction to something. And then Michael pointed them out. But thinking about this more logically, it seems like it could also be the fans. And he's pointing to the fans. I think they were probably too powerful and he wanted them turned down at that time. So, Jam, Dangerous Tour in Chile. Check it out. That's what happened. Number 2. So, I love the History Tour. It's a brilliant tour. When Michael Jackson performed in Taiwan, there was a few things that happened that show. I'm going to go through all of them, but today I'm going to point out one thing during Heal the World. I love Brad Buxer. I think he's an amazing musical director, but it's really funny because sometimes Brad gets the brunt of mistakes which aren't even his fault. Now, something happened which I don't think anyone would have noticed, but I'm going to tell you because we need to know these things. During Heal the World, the backing choir was the original backing choir from the album. Now, it was recorded and then played with the live music. So it was a track, it was on the click track. Now, the click track has to be triggered. I've already spoke about this a few times during these videos, but a mistake happens in the click track during Michael Jackson's Heal the World in Taiwan. And it's just right at the end of the song, right at the end. The choir track comes in and cuts out very quickly. It cuts out like that, and they quickly turn it off. But check it out, you will see that. It's also happened a few other times, but I'm going to make that into another top 10 so I can tell you all of those little things. But for today, Heal the World in Taiwan, choir came in and then went out mistakenly. Thank you. Number 1, Michael Jackson, Dangerous Tour in Scandinavia. Now I'm saying Scandinavia because I'm being honest with you. I've just forgotten what the show was. I think it was Stockholm. It might have been Oslo though, but it's probably Sweden, okay? I might be wrong with that. I'll put it in the blog so you can see I've just forgotten. They all mold together sometimes. However, Michael Jackson, after Jam, he cut his finger. Yes, he cut his finger. And you can see he's hurting, but he want to be starting something anyway. So in between the songs, he cut himself. This has happened to me while I performed before. I cut myself on my metal pad things, and I was touching my microphone and I had blood down my face. It happens sometimes. Anyway, back to Michael Jackson. Blood actually drops onto the stage, and Michael has to call on his stage manager to mop the blood up from the floor. Yes, pretty interesting, huh? Whenever there's a foreign object on the floor, the stage manager's job is to get it off the stage, whether that be liquid, something that a fan has threw on the stage, maybe a piece of a badge has fallen out. We spoke about that last time of Michael's costume. He will come on quickly and get it off the stage. But this time he was a bit slow. He was a little bit slow, and it took Michael quite a while to get his attention come there, and he's come there, and I'll put the link up on the blog. I think it was Stockholm, but it's in Scandinavia. I feel a bit ashamed, that I've actually forgotten that, but please forgive me about that. Anyway, that is the number 1 Michael Jackson live interesting fact for diehard fans, part 3. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe. Feel free to ask any questions. See you soon. So much more to come.